Tropical storm warnings issued for this potential tropical cyclone. Well, it's getting closer, this potential tropical cyclone, now with winds of 40 miles per hour and creeping towards tropical storm status. Still struggling a little bit with its extreme broadness. It's at 21.5 degrees north, 91.5 degrees west, which puts it over the Gulf. To the northwest of the Yucatan Peninsula, it has winds of 40 miles per hour, pressure of 998 millibars, and it's currently moving west-northwest at around 14 miles per hour. It's an 80% chance from the National Hurricane Center, and they've issued tropical storm warnings for large parts of the coast now in both Texas and in Mexico. Here's its current position displayed on the map once again, with a wind field extending up to 250 nautical miles in the northeastern quadrant, according to the last National Hurricane Center advisory. A pretty fair distance, it has to be said. And as we look at these tropical storm warnings extending from Port O'Connor to Puerto de Altamira, Mexico, it is currently 134 kilometers from Celestún, 547 from Veracruz, 657 from Tampico, 780 from Matamoros, and 914 from Corpus Christi, Texas. This system is expected to continue to move northwesterly or possibly a little bit further towards the west later on. We are fully expecting a Mexico landfall, but tropical storm force winds will be extending out very far away from the center to the north, and that will spark potential tropical storm force winds in Texas. However, the primary hazard is still for very heavy rainfall, torrential in fact, expecting to produce up to 14 inches or 350 millimeters in parts of southern Texas and northeast Mexico. This opens up the possibility for dangerous flash flooding and, on higher ground in particular, landslides. Of course, the winds will still be a factor as well as we watch the forecast over the next few days. You can see its movement there, and the landfall we're depicting just north of Tampico there, late Wednesday evening or early Thursday, and then dissipating by the time we get to the end of the week as it continues on towards the west, obviously over much higher and drier grounds of central Mexico, and it really won't last very long after it moves inland, but long enough to produce substantial rainfall amounts over that whole region. So 40 mile per hour winds right now, which has got decent agreement. Curiously, the ADT, Advanced Dvorak Technique from NOAA, has actually gone down slightly to 33 knots, which is just underneath that 40 mile per hour threshold, which is interesting. Recon are out there right now. I expect they'll be finding some storm force winds soon, but they haven't as of the publication of this update. And there's the National Hurricane Center's 7 a.m. forecast cone there, showing the wind field on the northeastern side and where they expect the storm to track. Pretty clear that it's going to make landfall in Mexico, quite close to where our forecast puts it as well, and then moving inland quite quickly during the course of Thursday morning and dissipating. This is the GFS model run over the next few days, and it's a pretty quick event there, moving on through, extremely broad throughout. And then this potential second system, which has been tagged by the National Hurricane Center now as well at 20%. I've gone a little bit higher with that forecast actually, of that second system this weekend into early next week, which could also become a tropical cyclone in that same area. But this initial system, 1L, of course, it's really going to be difficult to see whether it becomes a tropical storm properly or not. I think it still will, but it is running out of time and it doesn't look the best at the moment. But we do expect it will improve throughout the course of today. I think it will really matter what we see today. And look at those that simulated rainfall over the next few days as well. A lot of reds over the same parts of Mexico, which is really going to be producing the same amount of rainfall, very heavy amounts of rainfall I should say, which is going to cause flash flooding. And quite a bit of it still over Texas as well, although not quite as much as we were expecting initially. And that was that second system moving through again. Well, let's check the actual rainfall accumulations then over the next 7-day period. First of all, looking at all of the areas involved, and you can see secondary areas of rainfall over Central America creeping in later on in the forecast. But further north, we're talking about maybe 8 or 9 inches in parts of southern Texas now, and inland into Mexico towards Monterrey, we could be looking at totals close to 12 inches now, 300 millimeters, which would certainly be quite a lot for that area. And you can see there just over 8 inches near Corpus Christi, and then later on in that period as well, combined rainfall amounts up towards 18 inches in parts of Veracruz, and just off the Yucatan actually up to 20 inches, which is 500 millimeters, a very high amount there. A close-up view of the regional area of South Texas and northern Mexico, and you can take a look at that swath of rainfall creeping in there. Just over 7 inches near Corpus Christi to the south and southwest. The highest amounts look like it will be just towards the west-northwest. But across the whole of South Texas and northern Mexico there, 5 inches pretty much guaranteed, and probably a little bit higher than that. Well, sea surface temperatures around the storm right now are looking still pretty fruitful, around 28 to 29 degrees Celsius at least. In a few of the hot spots that this system could be travelling over, those temperatures could push towards 31 degrees Celsius, and oceanic heat content is quite decent in 1 or 2 spots just ahead of the system. So once it moves further towards the west there, it will have a little bit more energy to play with there, and certainly the chance to become a tropical storm is there, although we're still not expecting it to gain that much strength. National Hurricane Center are forecasting a 45-mile-per-hour peak. So here's the latest satellite imagery, and this might give you a little bit more of an indicator of just how large this system is, and quite a lot of rotating areas, and I'm not sure it all lines up. So a few little rotations that could be trying to become the dominant center, but at the moment there's no really clear areas that have become that organized center that we're looking for yet. I think if I was going to choose any area, it's just off the northwest of the Yucatan, and remains to be seen what will happen with it, whether it will manage to find that proper center, whether it will be able to tighten up as it does so, whether there will be able to be enough convection all around it to call tropical storm status. I still think it will happen. And I think it could be quite soon throughout the course of today. It looks like it's starting to get that shape going together as we look at this star imagery from NOAA, showing that lightning there. And this is sandwich imagery, which maybe doesn't look quite as good there, especially on the western side, looking flaky in terms of convection. But I think things could change quite quickly over the course of the next 12 hours, and certainly needs to be watched out for. Regardless of development into tropical cyclone status or not, it doesn't really matter for the coastal areas. That's really the point that we should make. Tropical storm force winds will be affecting a large area of the coastline with heavy rainfall, which once again will be approaching 15 inches possibly in a few spots. So we are expecting very high rainfall amounts, and this system should be more of a flooding threat than a wind threat, but all factors are still there, and indeed there could even be a small storm surge along the coast of Texas as well. As we look at this radar imagery, not too much to see there because it's moving out of shot. But that is this potential system, and it certainly has the potential to become our first named storm.